From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Ray Kouguell reporting. Iran nuclear talks in final hours, still looking for a deal. Negotiators from the six world powers and Iran worked late Monday to try to reach an accord to restrain Tehran's nuclear program, but an agreement remains elusive. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says some difficult issues remain, but negotiators realize they are facing a self-imposed Tuesday midnight deadline. The six world powers, Russia, China, Britain, France, Germany, and the United States, are trying to reach a deal with Iran to keep it from developing a nuclear weapon or give the world a year or more's notice if it tries. Iran is seeking to end the economic sanctions the UN and Western powers have imposed on Tehran. A White House spokesman says the talks are going to go down to the wire. If they reach agreement, a final version of the deal would be due by the end of June. Nigeria's Electoral Commission is issuing results from the country's presidential election, giving an early lead to the main opposition challenger, Muhammadu Buhari. The commission on Monday announced official vote totals from at least 13 states and the capital, Abuja. Mr. Buhari winning 10 states, while President Goodluck Jonathan winning in 3 and the federal capital territory. Some of Mr. Buhari's victories came in states in southern Nigeria, which is generally considered a stronghold for President Jonathan. President Obama is planning to visit his ancestral homeland of Kenya in what would be his first visit there as president. Mr. Obama will go to Kenya at the end of July to attend the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. The White House says the exact dates are not confirmed and no word whether he'll be planning to see family members while in Kenya. This is VOA News. An airstrike near a refugee camp in Yemen Monday killed at least 45 people and wounded another 65, the latest violence in the war-torn Arabian Peninsula country. Humanitarian workers said the bombing had targeted a nearby military installation in the northern district of Harad, but the circumstances involved in the attack were not clear. Stability in Yemen continues to deteriorate as a Saudi-led coalition stages airstrikes against rebels advancing on government-held positions in the south. VOA's Scott Bob reports.
The offensive by Iran-backed rebels in Yemen has galvanized into action a Saudi-led coalition of 10 primarily Sunni Arab states. Shiite-led Iran denies it is backing the rebels, whose advances led to the creation of an Arab Rapid Intervention Force. An analyst with Tel Aviv's Institute for National Security Studies, Yoel Guzanski, says Arab states would rather the U.S. or European governments take the lead in countering the conflict in Yemen, but in the absence of a response by the world powers, they feel they must act to protect their interests. Scott Bob, Jerusalem.
A British man pleaded guilty in federal court in New York to charges of trying to set up an al-Qaeda terrorist training camp in rural Oregon in the U.S. Northwest. Harun Aswad faces up to 20 years in prison when he is sentenced at a later date. Aswad came to the U.S. from Britain in 2009. He and 2 co-defendants conspired to stockpile weapons and train other Muslims in acts of terrorism at a camp they planned to set up in Oregon. 1 person was killed and 2 others were wounded Monday after federal police opened fire on an unauthorized car trying to access a U.S. military compound near Washington. The National Security Agency says security officials shot at a vehicle carrying 2 men who were dressed as women after the driver accelerated towards a police car guarding the Fort Meade complex. That's where the intelligence agency is headquartered. An occupant of the rogue vehicle died at the scene, another transported to a local hospital, as was a police officer with non-life-threatening injuries. Authorities say they do not believe the incident is related to terrorism. French prosecutors say the Germanwings co-pilot, accused of intentionally crashing his plane into the Alps, had suicidal tendencies in the past but appeared to be stable. The Germanwings Airbus crashed into the French Alps last Tuesday, killing all 150 people on board. French officials say the plane's flight recorders indicate the co-pilot Andreas Lubitz locked the pilot out of the cockpit before deliberately setting the plane on course to slam into the mountainside. Prosecutors say they have not yet found any motive for his action. Authorities are currently working to build a more sturdy road to facilitate access for forensic experts and family members who want to visit the site. I'm Ray Kouguell in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.